So good afternoon. Thank you so much for being in our webinar today. I'm Germaine Reyes, and I'm the president of Synergy Market Research and Strategic Consultancy. So allow us to share a short presentation of results of a study that we just conducted this August, which we will be comparing with results from last year through our partner YouGov to share some revealing nuggets of ideas on how the consumers are these days, 18 months after the lockdown. And to provide context about the survey results that we will be briefly sharing today, Synergy conducts surveys through YouGov that has a proprietary community or panel members in the Philippines representing the 18-year-old and above online population. The online population, the latest that I've heard is that we are around 78% and counting, no? Online population. And just briefly to introduce our partner, YouGov is an international research and data analytics company offering digital research solutions such as brand index, profiles, and omnibus. So the results that I'll be presenting today were called from the surveys conducted last July and October 2020, comparing some of those with an update here in August 2021. So for this report, topics covered are on what are considered essential these days and shopping habits, some shopping patterns, as well as some insights on future preferred work setup. Some topics covered were inspirations obtained from surveys conducted by YouGov, either in the US or in the UK, for which we have localized it in the Philippine setting. Results of this survey are hoped to provide us a peek on what would be the new habits and preferences of Filipino consumers a year and a half into this pandemic, and what will seem to be continuing in the post-pandemic world. The results are by no means the end in itself, rather, it should be considered as thought or conversation starters. So I'll be presenting to you 4 short results, okay? And result 1, it shows here, essentials are the basics in daily living. So currently, the essentials are, no surprise, the basics in daily living. And what are these? So as we have, we are showing here, essentials considered are those that are for survival, day-to-day living, food, drinks, laundry, cleaning products, or those that will aid in one keeping safe from COVID, which are medicines, sanitary care. So we have significant tested the results here. You would notice here, first tier, second tier, third tier. So those are the top 3 priorities. There are some ties, statistical ties. So what you would consider as the top 1 would be medicines and food and drinks for survival. No? Second tier would be sanitary care. Household cleaning and laundry would be third tier. Okay. So net in the near term, non-essential items may take time to recover, especially with quarantines that do not allow physical stores to operate. Companies producing goods and potentially services, what we would recommend is to go into e-commerce, provide products at a lower price in order to make it convenient, more affordable, and attractive for consumers to still avail of. So if you are in the non-essential industry, all the more you need to stay relevant to the consumers these days. Result number 2, shopping habits formed during the onset of the pandemic appear to be continuing until now, possibly becoming the norm for some of the consumers already. Okay, so here you would see that we have compared before quarantine and during quarantine across time. And you would note that the weekly grocery purchase is becoming to be the norm now, as fewer people retain their near daily purchase cycle pre-pandemic. Okay, before pandemic, it's more pronounced, yung good for 1 to 3 days yung purchase cycle nila, or good for 1 week. Now, when the pandemic set in, you would note that there were those significant numbers who were panic buying probably, and who would be stocking for around 3 to 4 weeks or 1 to 2 months. But now that has lessened a bit, and now it's good for 1 week. So that's the cadence by which consumers are buying grocery items these days. Okay, so what we have also noted, so we took a look at the source of fresh food purchases, and you would note here the various combinations, and all from supermarket ba, or all from wet market, or a combination of each, right? So majority are mixed buyers for fresh food purchases, and growing over time, due to supermarket incidence increase. Sorry. And the supermarkets are now the go-to source even for fresh food purchases, and incidence even increased in recent times. This could possibly be due to different considerations. It could be due to the following, time, minimizing shopping trips. The supermarket would tend to carry more brands and items than wet markets. Hygiene safety measures, with some cases of wet market shutdown due to COVID-19 cases among vendors or workers, it seems to be more practical now to go to supermarkets, provided that measures are visibly implemented. And then also third, the reason for possibly this pattern would be the cashless transactions that would be available for supermarkets, providing more payment options aside from cash. You would have, of course, card, credit card, or e-wallet, etc. So what's the implication of this? Given the situation now, especially with the Delta virus, and the implications would be that supermarkets, the supermarkets need to communicate availability and price advantage of fresh items, and that availability of delivery would be most needed now to facilitate lessening of people going out as we try to hurdle this surge of COVID cases right now. However, this has adverse implication to wet market sellers though. Okay, and I would like to open the discussion around this in terms of how do we help our kababayans who are selling in the wet markets. Should they resort to delivery as well, no? In order to, in the meantime, as we try to curb the impact of COVID cases. I don't know whether we can do a poll right now, but probably you can share with us in the chat box, where do you feel safer? All right, ayan pala. Where do you feel safer to go to buy fresh food? Is it in supermarket or in wet market? Okay, so feel free to jump in and answer this question, and we will read the results later on. Okay. So result number 3, okay, desire to do outdoor activities is more pronounced now compared to last year, and possibly we see this as probably, cabin fever already setting in. Who would blame us as human beings, right? So you would note here some of the activities that we have mapped out and asked the respondents to share with us what are the lifestyle activities or purchases they're planning to do in the next 6 months. And you would know from July to August this year, the only ones that are pronounced here is the desire to do outdoor activities, either going to malls or dine in restaurants or fast foods. Clothing purchase is also pronounced now. So what's the implication of this, okay? Kasi also, if you notice down there, anything that's 10% and above, we read that as already significant. So the rest of the lifestyle activities are significant, no? But it hasn't changed over time. So the 10% and above. The implications I will say after this, okay? It is believed the connection of the results the previous slide is connected with this probably, no? In terms of the confidence of the people in going back to pre-pandemic routine. It has slightly dipped with the stricter lockdowns, we do believe, because this was measured in August. It has affected both the long-term and short-term outlook in terms of preparedness to go back to normal routine. So what are the implications or recommendations that we can provide here? Maybe to curb cabin fever effect or even mental health issues setting in. We're looking out for the recreational providers out there. Please step up, provide virtual tours, no? So that at least it alleviates some of the cabin fever and the mental health concerns that are setting in. We had a webinar last time in terms that showed the pronouncement of mental health concerns to be higher amongst the Gen Zs and the Gen Y. So, the recreational activities provider need not wait for the pandemic to end. Right now, you could step up and provide these visual tours, use technology in order to help, curb this cabin fever effect and mental health concerns. And then lastly, okay, result number 4, work from home preference even after the COVID situation is over is observed across half of those interviewed. Half of those interviewed. And you could see here the results and all. We asked them prior to COVID-19 outbreak, which best describes your working situation. And the next question was, and once COVID-19 situation is over, what is your preferred working situation? So you would see here that more prefer to retain at least a part-time work from home setup that they will have, that they have established either before or during the pandemic. So what's the implication there? I think we do believe that this has a lot of implications for the companies. Companies need to plan for this remote and combination remote and workplace setup, because this will still linger on even after the pandemic is gone. And we don't know actually when the pandemic is going to be over. Not to cause despair, or but being realistic about it. This is what the consumers are saying. So in summary, non-essential brands need to exert more effort in making themselves meaningful, available, and affordable to consumers. And delivery convenience would possibly play a role in this. Given stricter quarantine, supermarkets need to step up in order to fulfill more the needs of customers to provide, while wet market vendors can offer free delivery services for the time being to make it safe for all. Okay, this is to make it for the consumers these days. So as we are dealing with the Greek letter variants of COVID, a little sacrifice from our kababayans would be needed. Recreational services and activities need to step up to reduce cabin fever effect, which could lead to mental health issues. Use of virtual tours and VRs or other technology-driven solutions may have a role in this. And lastly, companies need to contend with the prolonged effect of work from home and need to plan accordingly, given that the online population is not yet ready to go back fully to workplace situation, even once the pandemic is over. And your guess is as good as mine when it will be over. So that wraps up our the study that we conducted just this August. And for more information, just ring us a bell, or you can email us through the email addresses. So here's the result. Where do you feel safer to go to buy fresh food? And the answer, most the webinar attendees now, we're not generalizing to the population, but among the webinar attendees, you would agree, supermarkets. So konting sacrifice from the wet market vendors, maybe in the meantime, maybe mag-deliver muna din sila para tumuloy-tuloy ang revenues nila, no? Konting sacrifice, we need to curb the impact of the Delta variant and the other Greek letter COVID variants. So a little sacrifice would be helpful these days. So that's it.